Hello, the following is an interview I had with Veronica Dye. She is a yoga teacher currently teaching yin and restorative yoga at Baby Cobra Yoga and Everyone Yoga here in Brooklyn. Her teaching style is primarily focused on calming and regulating the nervous system through embodiment, and her yoga and meditative personal practices are strongly influenced by Taoist philosophy. She is also a musician who plays the flute and the drums, currently in the band Terminator. If you would like more information on any of those places, I'll leave a link in the description below. A note before we jump into things, this interview series has been very much a learning experience, and the audio for this interview is not as great as I would have liked it to have been. However, I have invested in better audio equipment for future interviews. Regardless, I hope you're still able to enjoy the conversation we had.
I'm Veronica. I teach yin yoga at Baby Cobra Yoga on Thursday nights, and that's where I met Zach. That's where I met you. And you came to my classes. Yeah. That's that.
So yeah, I think you're the first class I ever took at Baby Cobra.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so flattered.
And I think that was December of 2022, or maybe a little earlier.
Okay. Sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you teach a yin class. That was like one of my first yin classes.
How long had you been doing yoga before you came to my class?
Oh, about a year.
Okay.
About a year.
Cool.
Yeah. And how long had you been teaching at Baby Cobra?
I think I got a job there. I started working in the summer of 2022. Yes. And I've been a yoga teacher since 2017.
And when did you start practicing yoga?
I started practicing yoga in 2009. I was 19 and I joined a Bikram yoga, hot yoga community in Seattle called the Sweatbox. Yeah, and so I was really into the 90-minute Bikram sequence. That is 26 postures. You do the same postures every class, each twice in a row, or like twice, one after the other, in a super friggin' hot room. You sweat a lot. And
how did you find your way to that scene? Like, who introduced you?
Honestly, I think it was just like, I'm from Hawaii, and I was in Seattle, and I wanted to be warm. So, so I was like, this room is about the warmest thing I could find. So that was literally it. But then I really love the Bikram sequence, even still to this day. I think the 26 postures in repetition are just really, really good for the spine. I think it's physically one of the best exercises of stretching for like the spine. And also it was just like, I saw a lot of improvement in my practice. I practiced it for about 4 years, pretty consistently. And once I started getting it and like flowing through it, yeah, it's kind of addicting.
Wow.
Yeah. But that was my first introduction to yoga. Is that. And then it sucked because like I came out that Bikram was like a creepo. And you're like, oh. But that's how it goes.
Find your instruction when you started? Like, does Bikram have an instructor? Is that?
Yeah, Bikram has an instructor, but there's very much so a script that they have to follow. Because the 26 postures are like...
the same sequence every single class.
Every single class. Yeah.
Do they change the speed, or is it the same speed every?
Pretty much the same speed. Yeah, 90 minutes. Mm-hmm.
And you felt Were you like an active person before asana practice?
Yeah, I've always been kind of an active person. You know, I've always needed like physical activity to get energy moving and out of me. I was kind of into sports in high school, but like not really. I wasn't really like a team sport person. I was in the marching band.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I was too.
You were too? What'd you play?
I played bass one in drumline.
Oh, sick. Drumline. Damn, that was fun.
I played marimba and xylophone, vibraphone, all that glockenspiel before.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, marching band's super fun. Highly recommend for anyone wanting to.
A lot harder than you might guess as well.
Harder.
The marching is intense.
Yeah, and having to like.
A lot of memory between playing and knowing where you're supposed to stand.
Yeah, and then like having to like switch on like a beat and like also like, I mean, drumline, you're holding like a huge thing, and I just had to hold like a flute. But the flute had to be parallel. Like I had to be like.
Yeah, you really gotta be visually on.
Yeah, and then they would put like these feathers on our hats, so like if you like, like you could tell if like you were like not super straight. Yeah.
Yeah, posture is so important.
Posture. Gosh. I think posture is a little bit of a myth, actually. I don't think there's anything as perfect posture.
Isn't that the whole point of Bikram though? Like aligning your. As you said, it's about the spine. Isn't it about?
Yeah, but the spine's not straight. The spine there's a natural curve to the spine.
But you want like hips over heels, shoulders over hips, cranium over.
Right.
That, right?
That's true. That's how they cue it. That's definitely how they cue it. But, and this is something that directly goes into yin, and just the body in general, but everyone has like different sized bones. Like, I don't know, you put two skeletons next to one another, and like one has like a longer femur than the other. One has like a bigger, wider hip bone than the other. And so to think that like one person looks a certain way in a shape and that's across the board how it should look is not true. And so you begin in yoga and in any physical practice. The whole point of physical embodiment, I believe, is to kind of like understand your own boundaries and limitations, as well as like, yeah, just like how to work within those to make the practice of physical practice like benefit and nourishing and supportive to you.
It sounds like Bikram's pretty strict. How did you find your way to that understanding, or is that not the case?
Oh, well, I mean, when I also came to Bikram, I was like a bit of a, you know, I was in my 20s, so I was a bit of a loose cannon. I didn't really, I guess I didn't really have a lot of structure anywhere else in my life during that time, outside of like school, yeah, or college. But yeah, it was more so, what kept me, I think, coming back was seeing myself improve in it. Like, it's such a hard, mentally, physically challenging environment, with just the heat and like an instructor kind of like barking things at you, that once you kind of like overcome that and you're like, okay, now I'm starting to like fucking like rule, like kick ass at this sequence, it becomes like satisfying. So I think that's what I liked about it, probably. I did go to a Bikram class pre-pandemic though, and it was hard. I definitely lost a lot of my skills.
That's so fascinating to me, because I know you now as such a like slow yin person.
Yeah.
And like almost a competitive nature seems to come.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like the opposite.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely a lot less competitive than I was in my 20s, though overall in every aspect of my life.
So like, what do you think contributed to that change?
Good question. Life. I think, well, if you're competitive, that means you're fighting some sort of battle, right? You're in competition with something.
Yeah.
And you're kind of making that up in your head.
Yeah.
So I think just in getting older, I realized it was, you just pick different battles, right? Instead of everything having to be hard, everything having to be extreme, everything having to be like the most intense feeling in the world, you kind of pick your battles and be like, okay, I'm not going to be so intense around this because I don't have to be. I don't know. So, I mean, that's how I got to yin yoga. After Bikram, I went to vinyasa. And then after vinyasa, I found yin.
Seattle?
Yeah, I found yin in Seattle.
Who was your first teacher? What were they like?
My teacher who I most note is Emily Denton. Her name was Emily Denton.
She's the yin teacher.
Yeah, she taught yin. And it was during my teacher training, too, that I think they required us to go to a certain number of yin and nidra classes. Mm-hmm.
Did you do 200 or 300?
200.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
What made you decide to become a teacher then? Is that
Yeah.
you discovered yin, or was that part of the training?
Yeah, that was around the same time I discovered yin for sure. I decided to do teacher training because I was in a really, what I think is a really cool yoga community. They were called posers, which I thought was really creative and funny. But I think it was just a really cool community full of creative people. And at the time, I was also getting into body work and massage therapy and things like that. So I was just very into the idea of learning about the body, and I wanted to surround myself with a bunch of people that were also in that kind of same mindset. And also there was a spiritual aspect to the yoga practice that I, at the time, I think really needed in my life. So all of those together kind of just drove me to become a teacher. I started teacher training not really wanting to teach, too. Yeah, I was like, I just want to learn.
Were you religious before that at all, or spiritual in any way?
No, I had studied Buddhism in college, Buddhism and Taoism and Confucianism. I was really into the kind of Eastern religions in college, and also growing up I was kind of around it as well, but nothing like every week I was at church or anything like that, or reading any sacred texts against my will or anything. Like I was just interested in them.
So what spoke to you about the yogic spiritual journey, the teachings?
Yeah, great question. It just made a lot of sense to me. It made a lot of sense because the practice of asana, physical asana, is the yoga kind of religion's scientific way of helping the student reach samadhi, right? Reach the higher consciousness. And you do that through breath, through physical posture, through stilling the fluctuations of the mind through being present, through meditation. It's just it's just a science. And I found that really interesting.
How much did that tie into your then learning, like this massage therapy?
Mm-hmm. I'm a massage therapist. Honestly, I wanted to be a massage therapist because I needed a career change, and I wanted something that was short, and I knew I could do it.
What were you doing before that?
I was serving. Yeah, I was on my feet serving wine at a wine and truffle cafe in Pike Place Market in Seattle. I worked there for 5 years, and they made me like the manager, and I was like, I'm not qualified.
The Bikram era.
I was definitely during my Bikram era of intensity. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Oh, cool. And then, so what specifically about yin spoke to you then, like as a subset of this spiritual awakening?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a spiritual, actually maybe it was a spiritual awakening. I think actually probably it was, yeah. So yin tied into that, I don't know, well, yin yoga requires you to slow down. Like, it requires you to slow down, and it asks you to be still. And
it's the total opposite of what you had been doing up to this point, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was. And I just began to kind of, as like the layers peeled back, I realized, it was really hard to stay still. Some postures I was like, I would just get so, I would get mad.
Which ones?
Oh, Paschimottanasana. This one?
No.
Oh my God, I hate it because it's just like my hamstrings are tight. Like I can't go down really far. Like I've always wanted to go down have my head reach my ankles, but I'm still here after all these years. God, that pose drives me up the wall. I rarely put it in class.
Hiking, though, currently.
Oh yeah, really? Oh, you'll surpass me soon. I guarantee you.
Francois gave me some tips last night.
Oh yeah? What were the tips?
Find a wall. Forward fold into the wall so that your body doesn't freak out that you're gonna fall. Just use the wall, and then you can finally let your hamstrings open.
Hamstrings are powerful. Hamstrings are spiritual. I'm just gonna say that.
Like me, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You're a big biker?
I do bike a lot, and just in the summer.
That is what does it for me.
Yeah, I know. Because it's like when you are biking, you're just like, yeah, I bike so fast. Yeah.
What other poses?
What other poses that would frustrate me? That's the big one. That's the one where I remember feeling frustrated, and it was in kind of also, but that feeling of frustration honestly opened up a window to how I was talking to myself. I get in this physical posture, this pose that's really simple and not a big deal, but in my head I would just make it such a big deal.
What would you say to yourself?
Oh, I wish I could go further. I wish this pose didn't hurt, or I wish I was more flexible. All that is because we allow ourselves to talk negatively, right, to ourselves. We just allow, I allowed myself to be like, oh gosh, you're so not flexible. You look at how silly you are in this pose, And so it kind of opened up a window to how I was talking to myself, and that the way I was talking to myself in yoga was the way I was talking to myself in music, in my career, in my relationships with people, is just this really like hard, like being super hard on myself, super judgy, and like once I began to like change my attitude and be like, you know what? All right. And like just kind of like breathing through it until I found like a second to just like accept that this is how it's gonna be. Then I began to like experience some like joy in the pose. I was like, okay, this is just how it is. And then I was like, oh, it actually feels good. Like, oh no, it actually feels good to come into this pose because I've changed my attitude about it. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. But that's like kind of where also the spirituality of yoga and the stillness of yin, I think, really complement one another. Is in order for yin to be interesting, because it's kind of boring to like sit in a pose for a really long time, but in order for it to be interesting, you have to like invite a sense of curiosity and like what's going on, like what does this mean, what does that mean, and figure it out from there.
So, what sort of things do you find when you open yourself up to that curiosity?
Oh, right. Being receptive. Yeah. Probably a little bit of freedom, a little bit of joy, a little bit of relief. Yeah, and it becomes an engagement. It becomes a conversation, right? You could just find ways to talk to your body that feel like, I don't know, that skill in itself feels like, for me, kind of powerful. You know, like I'm gonna just tell my hamstring to relax. Oh, it's not gonna relax? Okay.
Do you find yourself ever going back to that old way of talking to yourself?
Oh yeah, all the freaking time.
How do you pull yourself back or let go of that?
I think, well, that's the thing is, I don't think it's ever going to like pull back all the way, or I think that's just like being human is like.
So where's your balance then?
Right. The balance is in just being able to notice it and identify it. So, like, let's say it's like a feeling of frustration. Understanding that like the reason I'm feeling frustrated is nothing, how do I say this? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that feeling. There's nothing, it's not the end of the world that I'm frustrated, kind of thing. And just noticing it as just frustration, like it's just a feeling. And it's only going to stick around as long as I allow it to stick around. So it comes up, I notice it. Sometimes it takes me 1 minute to notice. Sometimes it takes me like a whole month to notice that I'm friggin' frustrated about something, Sometimes the beat that you need is a long beat or it's a short beat. But it's really the act about noticing, and when you listen and when you begin to notice, it becomes more frequent, and you can find yourself being able to reel it back in, at least identify it, accept it as a feeling, give it like a nice pat on the back, be like, okay, frustration, you did your thing, you ruined my life for like, no, just kidding. You just made everything fall apart. But you just kind of like say that like, okay, I felt you, now you're gonna move on, and I'm gonna change my attitude and change the perspective, change the narrative, make it something different.
So when you had this epiphany during your training, what did you notice, like, outside of yoga changing in your life? How did things kind of gradually shift once you had this realization?
It's a really good question. Let me think about that. You know, I would say once I started to practice slowing down, listening to my body, just being more comfortable with being in my body. I mean, that's a huge part of yoga. I think that you discover when you do after time, it's like, gosh, being in a body can be so uncomfortable. You know,
It can.
Yes, it can. It's really uncomfortable. And that is like everyone feels that way. Everyone in the world feels uncomfortable in their body at some point in time. But I don't know, once I started doing this practice and really getting into it, I also noticed it just invited different people into my life. You know, specifically like with the negative self-talk and things like that, once I kind of changed my attitude on that, different people started coming into my life that would reinforce that good attitude, reinforce that like good self-talk. Whereas before that negative self-talk, I had people surrounding me that would reinforce like the negative. I would say that was the biggest difference I can think of right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my YTT right now.
Yes. So cool.
That's one of the things that we touched on, where it's like you get back what you put out.
Yeah.
Of energy.
Yeah.
It's cool that you noticed that in such a big way.
Yeah, energy is super real. Right?
Yeah. It is.
It's so real. The transfer of energy, or like just feeling someone's energy, it's like, I don't know.
There's a lot of emerging science too that is able to verify it in a way that makes sense to our physical understandings.
Yeah.
Intuitive sensory understandings.
Yeah. Totally.
So, where was I? Oh yeah. So like, Chauncey actually went into great detail on how, like, there's such a kind of crazy microbiology world going on around, like, everything.
Yeah.
Like, on your skin, when you touch someone, when you touch a tree, when you eat your food.
Yeah.
How that's all changing your biochemistry, and you don't think about it, but it's like been known that it's there for a while, you know, but we still don't really think about it all that much, other than like sanitize your hands, but there's so much more to it.
Yeah. No, 100%. Well, even just like sitting amongst like trees, like it feels different than if we were like, if none of these were here giving off their just super good energy. Thank you, trees. Then yeah, it would feel completely different. Yeah, we'd feel something different probably in our bodies. Just based on, like, maybe we'd feel a little more like exposed if there were just no trees, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. We talked a little bit about the second lung, how like...
What's the second lung? I've never heard of this.
Like, greenery, you know, creates oxygen. And so it's like part of the process of breathing. Or you don't think about it, but it's part of your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Cool. Yeah, I only, honestly, only when I come to the yoga mat do I really think about breathing.
Really?
Which, I mean, I'll take a deep breath, you know, a few times at work. Maybe I'll take a deep breath in the morning with like my coffee.
Do you meditate? What's your day-to-day life like? And then like, how does your understanding of yoga play into that or not?
Well, day-to-day life in New York City is like I wake up and I get to work. You know, I'm like up and I'm like, what kind of work are we doing today? But I think that's just New York. Good question. Lately it's becoming earlier and earlier. So usually I wake up 7:30, or if I'm feeling luxurious, 8. Yeah. Honestly though, I can't sleep in later than that. I've tried a bajillion times. Like no matter how like late I go to bed. Like if I go to bed at 2, I'll still wake up at 8. And I'm like, no, it's not nice. I want 8 hours.
I had the opposite problem for the longest time, so I'm envious.
You just like can't wake up. Yeah.
I'll sleep till 4 or 5 p.m.
Oh my God.
I'll just sleep until my body is like,
that's
good.
Crazy.
Once I slept
I'm
like
so
32
jealous.
hours straight after like a vacation where I didn't get enough sleep, my body just supercharged.
Wow. I thought it was cool the other one, like, I don't even know when this was. Maybe like 6 months ago, but I slept 11 hours. It was like it was when I got back from a tour.
How long
I slept for 11 hours.
Sleep?
I try to get 8, but honestly, it's more like 7.5, 7 sometimes.
You seem very functional, though.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm dysfunctional on like anything less than 9.
Wow. Do you drink coffee?
Nope.
You don't drink coffee?
Nope.
Oh, maybe if you you'd feel more functional.
My issue with coffee is that it like speeds up your metabolism. So I find that I already consume a lot of food.
Yeah.
And so eating any more than I already eat just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And I really feel it when I drink it. Like, okay, eat. Calories are burning.
Yeah, it's true. Fair. I honestly sometimes at night I'll go to sleep and I'll turn off the light and I'll think, God damn, I cannot wait to drink coffee in the morning. And that's like my last thought before I go to bed. I'm like, God damn, I can't wait to drink coffee. It's so good. I love coffee. And I really only drink like maybe 2 cups.
Do you have a special blend or something? Or
No.
you just like the caffeine?
I like the warm. I like a warm.
Tea is warm.
Yeah, it is. That's true. That's true. Tea is warm. But there's nothing like, I don't know, it's the taste of that first sip of coffee that's just so good.
Interesting.
I'm thinking about it right now. I can't wait for my cup of
So you get your
work.
coffee, you're off to work.
After work, I'm a massage therapist, so I'll see clients, which is a whole energetic practice in itself. And then I'll get off. I'll usually do some sort of physical thing. When you are touching someone, you receive a lot of energy from them. Like we were saying, anything you touch, sanitize your hands.
Yeah.
Microbiomes, whatever, like they're all on you after a massage. And so I usually like get out some physical exertion, move it through me, take a shower, and then if it's a Thursday night, I'll teach yin.
Is that what drew you to Muay Thai?
What drew me to Muay Thai was I wanted to learn how to fight and defend myself if I needed to. And also I just wanted a community. I started it when I moved to New York, like the first month I was here.
How long have you been here now?
4 years. Yeah. How long have you been here?
5.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
How does it compare to Seattle?
Everything about it's different.
How does the yoga community compare to Seattle?
Oh, that's a good one. I guess I'm still trying to find a yoga community here.
You don't feel like you have that at Baby Cobra?
I do. I do feel like I have a yoga community there. Oh, cute doggy.
Down dog.
Down dog, yeah, it's so cute. um, I do feel like I have it, but I honestly don't have much of a physical yoga practice anymore, outside of yin on my own at home, or I sometimes take Casey's class.
What do you do when you're at home on your own?
I honestly just put on some music and I do what feels good. And sometimes I'll like time the stretch with like the length of a song. So I'm like, okay, I'll just like, like hold this till the song ends. And the song ends and I'm like, okay, next one. Yeah. But then that's more just like me kind of intuitively feeling like what I need to stretch. Every once in a while, I'll take a class from my old teacher, Emily. She posts online videos, so I'll take those classes, send her some money for them, and yeah, sometimes that, but mostly I'll just stretch the music.
So then Muay Thai has really become your physical outlet.
Yes, I would say so. Yoga still is too, but really yoga has become much more of like a little bit more of like a spiritual practice of learning to be present in my body. Like I turn to yoga when I'm feeling distant or far away from my body. Yeah, and I'm making my yoga practice so much more about really just about being present. Like really just like, this is how I feel today. I'm super tired. I'm super sore. I'm super not flexible. And that's the present. Some days I'm like, dang, I'm super present and I feel so good and like my body feels amazing and these poses are like going so well and all that stuff. And being present in that is just as important as being present in like the shittier times.
Yeah. So are you cognizant of that off the mat as well? Like, is that something you bring to Muay Thai, or is that a different paradigm?
I would say it's different. Yeah, it's different. Also, Muay Thai is like, yoga is a very like inward practice. Like this is the zone. The mat is like your space, and it's just you and the mat, and you're feeling into things, and it's a whole process of being with yourself.
Right.
But fighting, you usually need a partner. So that you're working with you're working with someone. It's a little more like team oriented, a little more like partner oriented. And what I like about Muay Thai and the partner work is if you get a good partner, you form a relationship where both people are just trying to help the other person get better. And I think that's a really beautiful way to connect with someone. Yeah.
A good rivalry goes a long way.
A good rivalry goes a long way. Your best friend is your enemy? Make your enemy your best friend or something?
I thought it's the enemy of your enemy is your best friend or something like that.
I don't know. Maybe that person did yoga, maybe not. Who knows? The real enemy is, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Kind of.
You are your biggest enemy.
It's true. And your best friend.
A lot. Yes. True.
Are your best friend as well.
What are your thoughts on dualism? Do you have any?
Dualism.
Comes up a lot.
Duality. What have you learned about duality? I'm interested to know.
Well, I studied computer science. So, like, everything is just binary by nature, like hardware. And then all the software on top of that obviously works with that binary system. Which, if you think about like AI now, it seems incredibly complex, right?
Yeah.
But you're still just working with binary
Yeah.
at the end of the day, which is fascinating and definitely makes me think a lot about like life as a simulation.
Yeah.
But I also don't really feel like, from my own perspective, that binary is how this system all makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's more like a web or something like that.
Mm-hmm. A web, so something that's interconnected,
Yeah.
you know, naturally with each other to make something
moving.
cohesive and moving.
Like time is always moving. Energy's always moving, right?
Definitely.
So how does that play into the role of this web? Like, there's just a dimension we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
We can't interface with it.
Yeah.
With this.
Yeah.
But I think we're realizing that it's there.
Yeah.
Potentially more is definitely there.
Yeah.
And we're interacting with it, whether we understand it or not.
Mm-hmm. We're part of it. We make up the web.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's a very wise explanation you just gave. I'm like shook. I'm like, wow, that's really good. You're gonna make a great yoga teacher. Really though, it's true. The only time is changing, everything's moving. The only constant is change, really.
Yeah.
We can count on everything to change. And where the real mental struggle is when we think we can control that change. And that's where the real mental suffering, really. You know, Buddhism, they say, you know, life is suffering, you know, this weird, bleak way of looking at things. But
Taoism is very dark in comparison.
yeah, so it is. But it's true in the sense of like, when we try to control what's happening and what's going on, it's bound to not go the way we want it to, you know? But when we just let it be and let it run its course and move with the flow rather than against the stream.
So how do you deal with that in a city like New York?
I think what's beautiful about New York is that it forces you to interact with other humans, on a purely we are animals in an animal kingdom. Like, imagine this is a huge jungle and we're in before time, you know? How do we treat each other to create just something that works? Most people are good people, you know? Most people are. I believe that.
What do you mean by that?
I believe that most people are out here trying to do something meaningful in the world.
Are some people not?
Well, it's a good question. Maybe let me retract this. Let me think about what I want to say. Oh my God! Hi! What a nice outfit. Oh, okay. Hi! Oh. What was I saying before Penelope interrupted me? If we were all animals in the animal kingdom and we lived in New York, yeah, I think what I like about New York is the amount of human interaction you're exposed to on the daily. And it shows you that more often than not, people are willing to help one another. People are willing to be respectful of your space, mind their own business, as long as you mind your own. And I think that intensity of human interaction is really good. I think it's really healthy to experience. I feel like, just for me as a person, I feel like if I was somewhere quiet and you know, zen and sleepier, I wouldn't feel as close to myself. I don't know. Watching like humans interact with each other, like just watching like someone help someone with like a stroller or a cart down the stairs of the subway, it's like, you're like, damn, that's like so beautiful. I don't know, you know, you're like, damn, that's so beautiful. I just saw like such a beautiful act of human interaction that's like brief, but it was just like someone saw saw the stroller, was like, oh, I'm gonna go help. And it was their intuition to just help and be a good person. And that's so nice. So nice to see.
Yeah. It's nice that you're able to appreciate what you see as well.
Yeah. I also see a lot of crazy shit every day.
How does that make you feel?
Happy that I know how to fight.
How do you balance non-violence, a key part of yoga, your fighting? How does that, like, how do you make sense of that?
I think non-violence in yoga is, of course, like non-physical violence, of course, like not harming another person. Absolutely, like the wrong thing to do. And I also think the non-violence is not violent with yourself.
Absolutely.
I think it's not being violent with the mind and hurting the mind, harming the mind, saying harmful things to yourself. I think that's a huge part of the non-violent limb. So is it a limb?
I don't think it is.
It's in the Ashtanga. Anyway.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong.
But non-violence is super important. And I think in Muay Thai, in fighting, you know, it's a sport.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, you did a grappling class, yeah? You did a jiu-jitsu class?
Yeah.
And you're like, it reminded me of like being a kid and wrestling with my brother on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like human nature to kind of want to like physically fight. They're just physically like roll around, you know.
That's the beauty of the tap, though.
Yeah, it is the beauty of the tab, and that's non-violence. The same in Muay Thai and fighting. You can always tell your partner to stop, and if they're a good partner, they will stop. If they're a violent asshole partner, they won't.
They won't be let back in either.
And they won't be let back in, exactly. But there's a beauty and there's an art to Muay Thai, a physical art. It's a very, very old lineage of a sport from Thailand that has like just a long history. And I think anything in that's, you know, survived that long, means it's good in some way, you know. There is definitely an aspect of violence to it, but it's a very controlled, consensual violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same like, jiu-jitsu, you're rolling around and then someone's like, dip, dip, dip. And he's like, there's the consent where you're like, okay, I'm gonna let go.
I think you could argue that it's not truly violent in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, two people are kind of like consenting to the act of rolling around on the ground or punching each other, kicking each other, then they're also consenting to like stopping when it's become too much.
I think the last area I'm going to touch on is how has teaching shaped your understanding of yourself and your own practice? Like, not just doing the training, but actually becoming a teacher and like making that jump from training to teaching. And then like after that? What maybe advice would you have for other teachers that they might want to apply to how they teach, or just other people interested in deepening their practice?
Right. So teaching, the question is kind of like, what do I get out of teaching, and what do I kind of want to...
What was that journey like after YTT? Because you said that you didn't see yourself teaching, but you made that jump.
Yeah. I really made the jump to teaching and finding kind of my own stride in teaching through Baby Cobra.
So you did YTT and then you moved here, or was there a gap?
Yeah, I did YTT, and then there was a little gap, about 2 years, and then I moved here. And I did some teaching. I did some vinyasa teaching. I did like an 8 a.m. vinyasa for like a little while in Seattle.
What was that?
That was fun. It was cute, you know. Anyone waking up at 8 a.m. to practice is a cool person.
Did you lean into the Bikram style, kind of set sequence, or did you take your own?
I mean, I took I feel like I teach a very gentle vinyasa sequence. Very beginner friendly. Alignment cues are big for me, and less alignment cues, more like sensory and somatic cues, like like feel the chest rise to the ceiling rather than point the chest to the ceiling, like feel it rise.
I love how you open your current class with like, leave your eyes open and just take in the room and let it speak to you.
Yeah, you like that? Thank you.
Very unique.
Thank you. I learned that from Emily, my teacher. She would have us do that. And it's really true. It's like, when we think about the nervous system, like you're in a room for the first time or you've been in it like 1,000 times, like, okay, this is my distance from things. This is where this plant is. That's where that tree is. Like, this is the zone. And I know when I open my eyes and close my eyes, it's still gonna look just like this. And that gives the brain a feeling of safety. As like, I know exactly where I am, and I know where my emergency exit is if I need to like bolt.
That's really, really huge for like first-time students. Yeah. Especially.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you like that. I sometimes feel weird because students will just like be there like, and like kind of like look around, but I'm like, yeah, like look at the people around you, like look at the other faces in here. I mean, that's a very, like, you guys are all here for the same reason. I mean, something about your day told you to come to yoga.
Have you ever thought about doing your yin class in a non-traditional setup for the mats, where instead of just facing the teacher, it's maybe across the room or in a circle or something like that?
No, I've never considered it, but I like that idea a lot. I like that idea a lot.
That's how Francois's class was last night. It was in a circle. I think that...
How did it make you feel?
I really enjoyed the intimacy that it brought.
Yeah.
Because it made it a more communal experience. Like, Yoshi always says in his class, like, you can't do something, watch what other people are doing. Like, download it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really think that's so huge, kind of visual learning. Or just seeing that, like, hey, it's possible. They're doing it, so can I.
Yeah.
So, like, anytime you fall down or need a break, everyone's in view.
Yeah.
Which I personally found that comforting.
Yeah.
If everyone else feels the same way.
Well, that's what's interesting about that too is when he says look around you, like I was saying, it forces you to be like, okay, like let's see where other people are at. And I'm gonna see this person do it really well, and I'm gonna see that person over there kind of like fall on this handstand over and over again. So I'm getting a full kind of perspective and spectrum. And also you realize that when you're looking at them doing that, you're not judging them. You're not like, oh, that person's falling all the time. Like, it's nothing like bad. And so I think sometimes like when we're in our yoga practice and we're like, do I look good? Or like, is this like, what am I look good? Or I don't know, am I doing it right? that's just the talk, and that no one else in the circles.
Because if anyone is thinking on that level, they're also just thinking about just pointed back.
Yeah, exactly. They should really start to just think about themselves and what they're doing, rather than thinking about what you're doing. But yeah, I like that idea actually. Maybe tomorrow night we're gonna be in a circle.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Actually, switch it up. I feel like the regulars are gonna be like, huh? What? Or they might appreciate it. Who knows? I want to share something from this book.
Please do.
I brought 2 books. Can I show the camera?
Yeah.
But this one it's been blowing my mind. So it's Hermetic philosophy.
Kybalion?
I think it's Kabbalion.
Kybalion?
I've been saying Kabbalion forever, but I think it's Kabbalion. I say a lot of words wrong. But it's Hermetic philosophy, and the Hermetics are originally from Egypt. So they're some of the first peoples in the world, right? Because we all came from Africa, and Egypt is in Africa. So this is kind of the philosophy of them. It's the famous phrase, as above, so below, that's duality. As above, so below, that is Hermetic philosophy. So I wanted to I'll read a nice quote from it, one that really brought me a lot of joy. Cool, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes, and this is also following a chapter about, it's called The Divine Paradox, but it talks a lot about the polarity and duality of all life. And it goes, we do not live in a world of dreams, but in a universe which, while relative, is real so far as our lives and actions are concerned. Our business in the universe is not to deny its existence, but to live, using the laws to rise from lower to higher, living on, doing the best that we can under the circumstances arising each day, and living so far as possible to our highest ideas and ideals. It goes on to say, we are all on the path, and the road leads upward ever with frequent resting places. So what I like about that quote is it kind of, especially this last line, we are all on the path and all the roads lead upward ever with frequent resting places. I think it shows us that, like, in our minds, we can always be moving forward, and we could always be moving up towards a higher path, right? Towards a higher consciousness, towards a place of bliss and non-confusion. But there are frequent resting places, right? Where we can take a break, rest before we get there, and figure our shit out, right? And I think, I don't know, just like the journey of yoga is all about self-discovery, self-embodiment, learning who you are. And I think it's nice to have just a reminder that, everyone's on the same path, going forward. Everyone has the same destination, right, to this life. We all have the same destination. We're all going to the same place, but it's always going to be going forward, and there are always going to be opportunities to rest along the way and figure it out. So there's no rush. There's no script or way to get there. It's all your own unique story, and you can take as many breaks as you need to get there. Yeah, Hermetic philosophy. Kabbalion? Don't know how to say it. But I love it. It's very deep. It's also like kind of brutal. Like, I'll show you. I'll read you another quote. I thought of this when you said we're talking about change and time. The Hermetists believe and teach that the all, in of itself, is and must ever be unknowable. They regard all theories, guesses, speculations, and theologies regarding the inner nature of the all to be childish efforts of mortal minds to grasp the secrets of the infinite. Such efforts have always failed and will always fail. One pursuing such inquiries travels around and around in the labyrinth of thought until he is lost to all sane reasoning, action, or conduct, and is utterly unfit for the work of life. He is like a squirrel which frantically runs around and around the circling treadmill of his cage, traveling ever and yet reaching nowhere. At the end, he is a prisoner still and standing just where he started. So if like you're trying to figure anything out, you're never going to get there. That's basically what that says. Yeah, that's basically what it's saying. But the first quote I read is saying that, okay, so all of that is true. We're never going to figure it out. We are never going to know it all. We're never going to have all the answers to all of our questions. But we're still all moving forward. And we're allowed to have as much time as we need to figure it all out. Right? Slowing it down. Yin.
Yeah. What did you want to share from the sutras? Anything?
That's a good question. I have it on Sloka 17, which says, Samadhi is accompanied by reasoning, reflecting, rejoicing, and pure I amness.
What does that mean to you?
Reasoning, reflecting, rejoicing, and pure I amness. That just means that when we are confronted with something, could be anything, could be a feeling, could be someone saying something to us, could be like a change in life, right? A shift in our day. We begin to reason with it, try to understand in every angle why it's happening and what it is and how to work with it or work around it or whatever. We reason, right? That's our natural instinct. Then once we've found no more ways to reason through it, we can take a little bit more of an abstract view and begin to reflect on it. Why was that said? Or why did I think that way or feel that way when that was said to me or when that shift in my life happened?
Yeah.
You know, you begin to reflect. It's a little more abstract, it's a little calmer. Yeah. Then that happens. And then you get to the part where you can rejoice. I love that word, rejoice. It's actually been in my orbit a little bit more recently. I've just been thinking about it as a word. But the rejoice aspect is when you realize that your mind no longer needs to reason or reflect. And now it's void of that. Now it's free of wanting to reason with this issue, having to reflect on this issue. And it can experience like the joy of the emptiness of it not being there anymore. That blissful state of, oh, I don't have to, it's passed through me. Right? That energy that from that saying, from that life shift, that energy that it brought in me is now passed through me. Yeah. And in that feeling, I feel joy.
I love to picture the body as a conduit.
100%.
So like energy's not meant to stick around for long. It just passes through.
Yeah. As above, so below. Just moves through the body. Up and down, forever and ever. Totally. Body's a conduit, 100%. I love that word conduit too. Let's rejoice in being conduits.
Absolutely.
And pure I amness was the last of that, which is total nirvana, total samadhi, which I'm, never gonna get to in my life. Probably. That's okay.
Never say never.
I'll probably honestly barely get past reasoning.
I love how they break up the meditative state into like all the different, like there's the trying, there's like the actual prep, is it like preparation? Well, there's like letting go of the senses, then there's trying to meditate, then there's like arriving, and then you finally do it, right? Yeah. That's the progression that they break it down into.
Yeah, total science. It's like, okay, that's okay. I'll just do this like peaceful warrior and hope it.
I can barely sit for a minute.
Really? Still?
Yeah, my hips are just so tight.
Well, that was why the physical practice was created, so people could learn to sit still. For people like you.
Just for me.
Just for you.
All those years ago.
Yeah.
I knew I was coming.
Some guy in a cave was like, Zachary, free your hips.
Thank you.
And don't be so hard on yourself when you can't do a headstand.
Yeah. Do you have any, well, before we get there, I just want to jump back to the question with regard to teaching.
Oh, right.
Did you want to pass along any knowledge to other teachers who might be watching this? Any key takeaways?
No, I think with teaching, it's fun to have your own style, have your own thing that you want to focus on and offer. To people, I think with every teacher you find students who relate to your philosophy, relate to like the energy you're giving out, and I also think teachers are like good people. If you want to be like a teacher, you're a good person. I think you have a place in my heart under good people. So I just think that if anyone's ever interested in yin, I would love for them to take my class. And I would also love to take more of their vinyasa classes, and I'll get better at that. I do want to be a little bit more part of the baby Cobra community. I feel like it's just so big. It's such a big community. I also think there's something to say about how like people who seek out donation-based yoga specifically are just like a different, I really relate to it. The yoga I took growing up and throughout my YTT and everything was all donation-based classes. It's all I could afford, and like I needed to do yoga like 5 times a week. The only way I could afford it is if I could like maybe pay $5 one day and $20 another day, But I think it brings, what donation-based yoga does is it brings together people who really want to be there, really, really want to be there, and it allows them to be there without having the stress of it being a financial burden. Just freeing. That's a beautiful environment. There's also like a karma to it. I could go on and on. I love donation-based anything. It's such a good thing to offer. Yeah.
That's what brought me in. So.
Yeah, you're like, here's $5. But seriously, and I really don't think it makes a difference if you can give a little, give a little. If you can give a lot, give a lot. But like, what's more important is that you're there and you're showing up. Yeah. I think that's really...
energy.
God, that web. Web is such a beautiful way to describe energy, I think. That was really good.
Glad you like that.
Yeah, that's good. I could see the poet in you really coming out through your yoga philosophy and your YTT. Love it.
The last thing.
Cool.
Are there any asanas that you feel particularly connected to, or you remember bringing out a new change in your body that felt like a big move at the time, or anything you just like to share?
Like a pose?
Yeah, just to, like, I guess, liberate other people through finding your own body awareness.
Totally. I already did Paschimottanasana, so I won't do that again. But, you know what pose I've been just into lately? I'm just going with the one I'm into. The squat. The squat, like the deep. I mean, usually I like to get to it. I'm just going to put this mic here. I like to get to it from like a forward fold, like a dangle or a Uttanasana forward fold. But you can definitely come to it from a seat. Yep, this one. Yeah, this is really good for your hips. I mean, in yin, you would like maybe if like your ankles were coming up, you could put something under them. Also, there are yogis that can do a squat like this, feet flat. I kid you not, and they're like this, but their feet are flat. Oh. What the fuck? Wait, sorry, pardon my language. Wait, you can do that, but you can't do the wide squat? I can.
This is
well, that's
strength.
Oh, but also it's your ankles. Your ankles have amazing dorsiflexion.
Skateboarding. Board sports.
Oh, that's true. Okay, well, I cannot. There's no way I'm going lower.
That
but
just goes to show
different bones, different bodies. But I could do this all dang day.
Yeah, that's really painful.
Yeah. What do I like about that pose? It's super challenging. It feels really good. It's great for the ankles, great for the hips. And a lot of students, I think the hardest part about the squat is actually like getting into it. Because when you get into the squat, your knees have to go over the toes, which... Sorry. Your knees have to go over your toes.
Yeah, move back a little bit so you can see better.
Yeah, I like to come to it like, yeah, you'd be in a forward fold, feet come out to a 45-degree angle, and then you just drop the hips down. But in order to drop the hips down, the knees have to kind of float over the toes, which if you're not supporting your body upright and you're like kind of slouching, that creates such tension on the knees. But if you're kind of like have a little bit more of a flat back with like lower back and abdominals kind of engaged, it's a lot less stress on the knees. And then you kind of just drop the hips right in between. You can meet a block, like sit on a block, or have something underneath the ankles, or just use this pose to like go from ankle to ankle. If the ankles don't go all the way down, and then the elbows come into the inside of the thighs, just ever so slightly pushing them out for counterbalance. And then to come out of it, you press your hands into the mat and lift the hips, and you're back in a fold. And then you can stand all the way up. And that's the squat. Or you could just literally go from like a squat and then just fall.
My preferred method.
Yeah, that's a good method too.
Yes, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to say that you didn't get to talk about?
Thank you for asking me to do this interview. I had a lot of fun. Great questions. Great location. Fun way to spend the afternoon.
Yeah, where are we? I don't think you mentioned that.
Good one. We are in Highland Park. I think are we in Brooklyn?
This is
or Queens.
Ridgewood Reservoir. So is it Ridgewood?
I don't know. I don't feel like this is Ridgewood. This is more like Glendale, Cypress Hills.
It feels like Queens, right?
We're in Queens, New York. Right on the border. I think maybe on the other side of Jackie Robinson Parkway is Brooklyn. That's probably right.
Yeah, because Broadway Junction is still Brooklyn.
Yes.
And even Brownsville is still Brooklyn, too. Right?
Yeah.
It's only, like, past that where it becomes
Yeah.
Queens.
Maybe this is like the twilight zone between Queens and Brooklyn. We're in Highland Park. It's not that crazy of a place. And the date is June 21st, 2023. Time 6:30.
Amazing.
And then what is there anything I was no, thank you, such great questions. And if there's anything I want to say is if you're feeling scared to start yoga or go into a yoga practice, don't be. There's a community out there that's the perfect fit for you.
Community at Baby Cobra.
At Baby Cobra Yoga, 7 days a week, donation-based only, 2 locations.
Subtle plug.
Yeah, but no, there's a community out there if you're interested in it, and that it's a resilient, brave, and just super fun practice way to be in your body.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Rock and roll, amen.
Right.
What do they say in in yoga? They say namaste, but in my classes I just say peace.
All right.
Peace.
Peace, everyone. Thanks for watching.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation today and you're excited for future interviews. I have some great guests coming on soon that I'm really excited for, and I hope you are too. I'll see you in the next one.